Hey everybody, welcome on our channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the prince of mushrooms and got harem? Part 2. If you are new on the channel, don't forget to subscribe our channel and like the video too. So without wasting any more time, let's start the story. Yeah okay. Azure King sadly said as the others, Naruto's group, Peach and Queen watch as King was taking a call and was sad. Hanging up he gave a sad smile, hey I gotta go, not really up for this. Queen you. I'll handle it, go sweetie. She said as the king waved them goodbye. Is he okay? Ino said placing a hand on Queen's shoulder, he seems. Yeah not really good, well the best present for him is to work hard. So who's reading? Azure Queen offered the tablet. I'll take it, the dude is a good host. Kiba said taking the device, we all need a moment. Vacation. It took 3 months to make it happen and it wasn't easy to clear everything in advance to make it happen either. To book a hotel room on Isle Delfino was easy, actually it was extremely easy. He was royalty, the second he so much as asked to get a room he had become top priority, despite Isle Delfino not being part of the Mushroom Kingdom. They used the same form of currency, coins were actually a very common currency used by most of the world, which made dealing with the Bean Kingdom, that refused to use them, difficult for most of the rest of the world. All the other kingdoms also had their own form of coins, their purple coins, but they still accepted gold coins. Purple coins? Lee asked in confusion. I don't get it, I thought gold, silver and copper are the only metals for money. That's not true, you see in my kingdom we use a lot of currency types due to our neighbors. Peach started with small piece of paper Queen handed her. The Bean Queen uses purple coins, this island that me and Mario went used rare blue coins that had special metal to make. Oh we also taken bills, diamonds, jewels. She listed off making more pictures and show its equivalents to her kingdom's amount for them. How color me impressed. Pish. Requiem not now. Queen blushed as her odd creature had a drum and cymbal out before it vanished with the equipment. Getting the hotel room easy, very easy, making sure Boset did not know he was getting a hotel room difficult. Well, it was supposed to be difficult, but Boset's kidnappings as of late were a little less frequent and she herself was going on a vacation to spend some time with family. He didn't know she had any family. The fact they want me to build a race track on their island kind of odd, but I guess they want to be involved more with other kingdoms. Isle Delfino is the #1 tourist destination in the world for a reason. Naruto thought to himself as he looked at Toadsworth on his left side and Peach on his right side. They were currently riding his personal plane. Again, he is royalty, so it was expected that he would not take public transportation when there were such dangerous risks to it after all. Not that he was a stranger to danger. That is kinda odd for a tourist attraction. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. Wouldn't the natives be angry about that? Possible, because this guy is a magnet for trouble. Sakura said, teasing Naruto for his bad luck on certain missions they were in at times. Hey I'm not that bad. Naruto argued. Zabuza Sasuke stated as the Team 7 went quiet, mostly to do how fresh the mission was. Sorry, he apologized for the sore subject as that was a wake-up call for them, as well as one of their greatest achievements. Let's keep reading, shall we? Peach suggested, hoping to get them into a better mode as she moves towards Naruto, enjoying how warm he felt. Actually, considering how well Boset treated him, he kind of was a stranger to danger. Since she never actually put his life in danger by kidnapping him, all she did was mildly inconvenience him and stress him out. That was something he was more than capable of handling. That is very true. Sakura stated as she realizes the only way she consider Boset hurting Naruto is when she tried to rough handle him over her shoulder, and that was the first time they met. Ooh oh, that looks delicious. Peach was in her own la la land as she looked at the TV in front of them, showing Isle Delfino. Peach, did you do that when you saw that screen? Naruto asked as the blonde woman shook her head, patting his arm gently. Oh no, it was Mario, although I did spot she stopped as she saw the Prince. Naruto eyes slightly narrowing at the screen on the TV. Naruto. He raised an eyebrow. This was odd. There. The princess shouted as Queen quickly looked up from watching her game as she lost interest for a moment with this. Wait, go back. Hinata said as she noticed something. Queen did as she rewound the video to pause what the Prince Naruto was watching to notice a dark blur. For a second, on the screen, he was pretty sure he saw Peach's shadow that looked like Peach, jumping around in the background. Unsure of what to make of that, he looked at Peach. The shadow Peach. Where did that come from? Choji wondered. Yeah, I wonder that too. Kiba added. Princess. Did you see? Naruto stopped when he saw her eyes were heart-shaped and she seemed unable to hear his words. Toadsworth, did you see that? Well, you're observant. Naruto stopped himself from even waiting for the answer when he saw that Toadsworth was in La La Land as well, no doubt imagining how relaxing or fun vacation was going to be. I think it's safe to say that Naruto is the only person who actually has a brain here. Ino deadpan at the horrifying thought of a Naruto who might be the single person to notice something obvious to everyone. Yeah, that's kinda scaring me now, Sakura agreed with her own deadpan, adding a sweat drop to that. Yup. Kiba and Shino nodded. Yuhe, Team Guy also agreed. I hate you guys so much, Naruto said with a cloud of depression over his head. We love you too, you idiot. Sasuke crossed his arms. Ahem, shall we keep going? Peach clapped her hands twice before moving her hand to hold Naruto's own. Don't worry, you're a kind person. The team smiled as he nodded to her kind words, thanks Dadabeo. That what? Peach looked confused before the story moves on. The advisor, the guy who didn't do all that much, was stressed out, ignoring the fact that Naruto was the one who ran the kingdom and dealt with other kingdoms, and Bo said. That sounds so unfair. Sasuke said as the idea of being stressed without working seemed pathetic. Well, it could be the stress of the kidnappings. Sakura said to her crush, who nodded to that acknowledgement. The last few kidnappings had been the most embarrassing to say the least, though they failed. He still needed to apologize to Boset for that last one. Wait, Niji raised a finger at this tadbit, why would he be apologizing? And how many kidnappings that Boset do? Tenten asked incredulously. Tenten-chan, Niji asked why not how many. The bowl cut teen said as Tenten glared at him. Failed kidnapping 1. Thank you, Queen Bean, it's always a pleasure doing business with you. Standing in front of Naruto was the massive figure that was Queen Bean, not massive like Boset, but her entire body was shaped like her namesake. She had green skin, with a massively rounded, and there were no kind words. She was overweight to the extreme, though there was muscle there too. Still, standing at a tall height greater than his own, his hand was minuscule in comparison to her own massive one, and shaking it was a bit of a challenge. Holy crap, she's fatter than me. Choji cried out. And here I thought I eat too much. Holy crap. Shikamaru screamed out as he never thought he heard his friend admit that. Ino just went back to her seat in shock as she couldn't believe what she heard. Is that really the Queen of the Bean Kingdom? Kiba asked Peach for confirmation. Yes, we met and I think she is the only queen at the moment in the whole planet. The girl said as took a moment to think about it. But wouldn't you be a queen too, since there's no one else to take that role in the Mushroom Kingdom? Lee questioned. Well, my father is still in charge. Peach stated as she gestures to Naruto, and like Mr. Naruto's counterpart, I do most of my father's duties as he is still grieving for the loss of my mother. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Sakura said sadly. Peach shook her head as she spoke softly, it is fine, my mother told me to always remember her in the best way possible. Usually, he went to her kingdom to do their business deals, but this time she had traveled to his castle, which was a novel experience. Nothing, dear prince, it's always a pleasure. If only you were green, you would be just my type. Queen Bean noted as she let go of his hand. No thank you. Naruto shook his head wildly, waving his hands frantically. She has a husband I think, since I met her son. Peach said, patting Naruto's shoulder kindly. Thank God. Hinata sighed silently as she hoped no more rivals for that Naruto to have. He was going to need his arm put back into its socket again and a massage to reduce the soreness of that. Every time he dealt with her, she was friendly, but she did not know her own strength. Well, I'll see you out. Naruto noticed that Queen Bean, instead of a chair, had been sitting on a knocked-out Boset for the past 2 hours. Oh my god, she's dead. Everyone but Peach shouted in horror. No, she isn't. I think Peach leaned in before nodding. Nah, she's fine. You call that fine? Everyone shouted at her. Failed kidnapping too. I'm the Big Bomb, Baron of all blasting matter, King of Kabooms the world over. Everyone's eyes widened to comical portions to see a living and talking bomb standing in front of Prince Naruto. Well, that's new, Naruto commented. HM, Peach airily giggled at the stunned surprise of her new friends. He surprised me too, I didn't know most of his kind were able to talk. Nice to see you again, King Bomb. I hope the ride over here wasn't too bumpy for you. Naruto didn't mind dealing with this explosive monarch too much, since his kind was part of the Mushroom Kingdom. While he held the title of king, he was still subservient to those of the Toadstool family as a general rule. And as always, this Naruto doesn't seem to give a flying fu. Kiba winced as the others glared at his words, luck to a talking bomb that can kill him. Real smooth there, Shikamaru deadpanned. Though, he was annoying. Like how he leaned forward right now. Still no mustache on that face of yours. As a prince, you need one to show your servants your status. You should take after me and grow out a fine one, but nothing will compare to my. I can't imagine Naruto having a mustache. Ino deadpanned, looking at the male blonde, and tried to imagine him with one, but when she did in her mind, it looked pretty stupid. I can. Naruto smiled as he had a thought bubble of having the King of Kaboom's mistake. Heh. Naruto sighed and put a helmet on his head before he grabbed his blast shield and held it in front of him. He came to the meeting room prepared for the worst, knowing that there was a chance a sneeze of epic proportions could happen. That explains why he is so okay with having a bomb near him. Sasuke said, as this Naruto has a plan for everything, he might have a plan for a backup plan. Prince Naruto, prepare your hand, because today is the hand I take it for my. Oh no, the girls all winced as they saw the kings finally unable to hold it any longer. Boom. Just as soon as Bosette jumped through the window and landed in the middle of the room, King Ba Bomb exploded and sent her flying right back out the window and into the distant skies above. Naruto had already been fully prepared and suffered no damage from the blast. The King of Explosions, on the other hand, was on the ground out cold from his own explosion. Looks like Bosette's blasting off again. Kiba snickered. Failed kidnapping 3. Prince Naruto, it's been such a long time. The gang just watched as they saw Prince Naruto's slightly annoyed face as he heard the woman's voice greeted him. Peach, on the other hand, was excited by this voice as she knew who it belongs to. Bosette, why can't you kidnap me? Naruto thought to himself as he was picked up and hugged by perhaps the one person he just could not deal with. She looked a lot similar to Peach, honestly, but with more tanned skin, a rounder face, brown hair, and she wore a yellow princess dress. Wait, he wants Bosette to kidnap him? Sakura said, confused. Wow, you've been doing sports muscles and you've grown your hair out a little, just love this look. Hey, you should take off your shirt so I can see if you've changed, Daisy said as she inspected his body and he managed to get out of her grasp. She laughed in a good-natured way, her voice showing off her tomboyish personality as she wrapped an arm around his shoulder. Glad that you're safe from that nasty Bosette girl. Aren't you happy I showed up unannounced? Daisy asked with a large grin. The group looked at Peach, then the screen, then back to Peach and repeated this process over 20 times. Are you sisters? Everyone asked, astonished at the sight of a near-perfect Peach in tan skin. The blonde shook her head. No, why do you say that? Naruto just groaned. Oh, I get it, she must be a big sister who bosses her over, protects him. Kiba said as he remembered his own sister always making angry for doing her chores when their mother wasn't around. Makes sense. Shino shrugged as he didn't have a big family, the only person he ever saw a sibling figure was pretty nice to him. Right, because if she had announced herself, he would have made sure he was kidnapped again. She didn't need to know that though. Shikamaru nodded, right, because last time he literally handed himself to Bosette to ruin the last one. Yeah, it's unfortunate what happened last time. So, why don't we take this conversation into your private hot springs? I know you've got a really good one hidden. Daisy judged him with an eager face. 1000 Ryo says Naruto's getting late. Kiba said. Wapish. Ow. Kiba was smacked on the head by Hinata of all people. That's not the Daisy I know. Peach blushed on how crass her best friend is acting. She remembered bathing with him all the time as a kid, seeing as their kingdoms were super close and the kings always had them play together when they were doing king stuff. They played, bathed, and had fun, though Naruto always seemed so happy when she was leaving, but that was just excitement for the next time she would come over. But it seems that she inherited Naruto's stupidity. Sakura deadpanned as she realizes that the tan girl might be the Naruto equivalent to their Naruto. Hey, I'm not that bad. Naruto complained. I just don't pick up on things that quick, he mumbled. Hinata just blushed as she made a mental note to do something that Naruto could see her feelings. We're adults now, we can't be. Oh come on now, you've got nothing I haven't seen before unless you never got bigger and you're embarrassed about it. Daisy laughed at her own joke while Naruto shivered in annoyance. To think, all those I yanked on it must have made it bigger. Daisy grinned as she fondly remembered learning the difference in sex by seeing a naked Naruto and yanking on his thing. Peach, what the hell is wrong with her? Sakura demanded. That's not the Daisy I know. Peach shouted, blushing on her tomboy friend talking and doing such things to Naruto. Is she really that desperate? Niji asked before shaking his head. Wait Peachum, is it true that Daisy was, as you stated, a tomboy? Yes, why do you ask? Peach questioned. Perhaps she is acting like that as a sister figure for Naruto. A very boyish sister. He stated as the blonde princess nodded, agreeing the idea as it seemed more likely as Daisy had Peach growing up making her a tomboy, but with more girlish tendencies. Naruto shivered at the memory. Geez, just what the hell did I do to get her attention anyway? It's not like I'm into her or anything. Naruto furrowed his brow in annoyance. I feel ya man. Shikamaru said as did the rest of the males who twinged at the idea of a girl yanking on their tools. It wasn't a sexual fun yank, but to test how far it can be pulled. Oh grow up, it's not like it's that painful. Ino rolled her eyes at their childish fears. Like you know. The boys shouted in unison before they slapped high fives around like a certain team of penguins. Oh hell no, you are not taking my prince. Bosette. Daisy turned around, jumped up, and slapped Bosette in the face the second that she laid eyes on her. The second the slap connected, Bosette went flying through the air, clear over the castle until she was out of sight. Daisy had a mean slap. Kiba blinked. Enton's eyes were filled with stars and awe as she saw someone else do the legendary Sanin Tsuna Days 100-mile slap. Cool. Failed kidnapping 4. I've got nothing planned for the rest of the day after I get dressed. I should see if Peach wants to golf. Naruto, with a towel around his waist, sat down and started to dry his hair with a blow dryer. It was just one of those rare days that he really didn't have anything planned. Wow, every time I just want to hit that. Sakura blushed at her former best friend, drooling over the prince like that every time he reveals some skin. Yeah right. Naruto pouted. He had no meetings. There was nothing that needed his dire attention, nobody was going to be visiting from other kingdoms. Bosette had just kidnapped him yesterday, so there was little chance that she was going to do it today. Overall, he didn't have anything to do now. Piranha Plant was in New Donk City doing who knows how many of the men there, she was on vacation. Koopa was sick, though she just needed some rest. Goomba was with Shy Gal, the two of them were having a girls' day together, doing whatever it was they did. Everything was just kind of boring. Wow, talk about chill. Shikamaru commented. Wish I could be like that. You already are. Choji added. I just wish Naruto is like that now. Sasuke said as he would be friends with this person, hell he can even buy that prince food if his Naruto can trade places with him. Heck, even a Bosette kidnapping would be welcome over this boring atmosphere of having nothing to do. The vacation to Isle Delfino wasn't for another 3 weeks either. Prince Naruto Prince. Naruto froze completely after jumping when Bosette and Peach both came rushing into his room out of nowhere. In deep thought, he hadn't heard them running down the hallways and he hadn't been expecting them. Look, he actually has something other than a deadpan face. Choji said as he ate some chips that Queen made for him. Tell this loser that you love me more, show this Koopa that I'm your hero. Violence was never the answer to anything. Oh great, Naruto facepalmed. When the two of them stopped what they were doing and saw that his towel had slipped off and his body was still wet from his bath, they each had their own reactions. Bosette, who had never seen a naked, male, humanoid in her life, wasn't quite sure what to make of the sight. She appreciated the view though, she wasn't aware of how Naruto compared to other men. Eek. The girls all blushed heavily. Though Hinata stared longer than usual with a goofy smile as Queen pulled out a black bar and placed it over the prince's pakage. Although the strangest thing Queen noticed was that Princess Peach wasn't with the blushing group. But in deep thought as she looked Naruto, using her power she listened when she saw the outsider of the world speak softly. It's really is an odd thing, I know he took my place in that world. But up close he does resemble me a lot, just as a boy, a very handsome looking boy. She ended that last bit with a soft smile and almost impossible blush, not from lust but slight embarrassment of complimenting herself and Naruto. That is really cute, you're bigger than my brothers. The boys just slap a hand over their faces, then groan at the two females' reactions. What? Sakura asked as the boys pointed at the screen, knowing the author would most likely explain why they were cringing at the sight. At the same time, they were really in sync today, they both said things that were equally embarrassing for Naruto. Peach had brothers, with little sense of shame, that she lived with, so it made sense for her not to be too embarrassed over a naked man. She appreciated the view, but this was still within the realm of normal for her. Her cheeks were a little pink, and she averted her eyes when she realized she was staring at the prince naked. I don't know started as Choji raised a hand knowing it was next. Being called cute was humiliating. Being compared to a girl's brothers was weird. Hinata said as it did made sense on why the boys had those reactions. Naruto's mothers had taught him patience, understanding, and how to solve problems without violence. He had been a pretty rowdy child himself, and he did have a temper that he bottled up for the sake of his kingdom. He never had any weak moments where he would allow his temper to control him, at least, he had never found himself in a situation as an adult where he would be this embarrassed, humiliated, and caught naked like this. I think he hit his idiot limit. Neji mumbled as they watched as the prince twitched before moving his hand to the ground. Naruto slowly wrapped his towel back around his waist with a burning red face, an intense blush. He walked right in front of them and he gestured for Bosette to lean down to his level. Ah. He's going to propose. Ino said, slightly a little off-put at the timing, but Naruto grabbed both of their heads and with one smooth motion, he slammed the two of them together head to head so hard that they collapsed in a heap on the floor. Naruto's whisker marks thicker and more animalistic in his humiliation and his eyes burning red in color to make his fire-like blush. Ooh. Everyone cringed, hearing the sick impact of two skulls crashing against each other. Or not, the blonde female said, watching the prince leaving the two behind. End of montage flashback. Yeah, he owed Bosette an apology after that last one, he shouldn't have allowed himself to get so overrun by his embarrassment and get caught up in that. He never knew why Bosette and Peach were together in the castle and no alarms had sounded to announce her. Still, he was ashamed of himself for laying his hands on somebody in violence. It went against everything his mothers had taught him as a child. Wow, even when it's not his fault, he still is a gentleman. The Naruto of Konoha said as he scratches the back of his head, I would have never been that cool with that. Next time he saw Bosette, he was going to ask her why she visited his castle the other day without breaking a window and apologize for hurting her. And why haven't he married her yet? The girl screamed at the lack of romance between the two, as the prince wasn't going to put a ring on that girl. Maybe he would bake her a chocolate and cherry flavored cake, that was her favorite flavor after all. AWWWWW. The girls gushed as they just hoped their fav shipping would go. Who else can be just as good or better as Bosette? Some kinda shy ghost girl. Everyone watched as the door opens to show two males, one of them Azure King and a new one being manhandled by Naruto. This one was wearing an orange open jacket that showed its metal armor chest and other armor around his body. Although he had a blank look, he outclass any of the females on how his beauty stun any gender. Okay. Sir, let me go, I'm off my break. Azure King said before he was put down and looked at his friend. You okay there, Fen? Yeah, I'm cool, Fen groaned. Fen? Azure Queen looked over from her couch to see a person before looking at the other ninjas looking at her for an explanation. He's a friend of ours, same world. Hey. He waved weakly. Hey back, why are you here? Queen asked as the other Naruto lifted his hands as fire spontaneously combusted to show the words. Saw King in a cafe talking with this guy and dragged him back, he is expendable. I was on my break. And you interrupted me from watching the trailer for RWBY Vol. 7. Okay. Wait, who is that, showed Naruto. Kiba pointed at the runt only to get an almost Meliodas deadpan stare. It was still cute. Oh, that's our boss, Silent King of the Underworld, Naruto. Azure King said, standing up gesturing the godly being. He is like a time-traveling, dimensional hopping dick. Crack. Shit, I was kidding. King screamed with a painful smile as his legs were snapped once more. Oh boy, Fen sweat dropped. Anyways, what's this reading thing I kept hearing about? SHHH. Queen grabbed the new idiot of the team into a headlock, we can't talk about it. Naruto lifted a piece of paper that Queen given to him. You have. Fen nodded. Well, okay. I guess I can start this off. The godly being nodded before leaving as if he was never there. With that, the newest member looked and noticed something. Is that Princess? Read. King said as he somehow lifted himself onto the couch. Alright. I'm going. This is a nice relaxing soak. The Koopalings better not mess with my kingdom while I'm on vacation. Bosette stated as she laid back and relaxed in the hot springs of Isle Delfino's volcano. A large tub made just for her when the people learned that she was coming to their island for her family vacation. After the stressful few weeks that she had been having, she really needed it. Is that tub in outer space? Sasuke said, astonished at the night sky that was outside the tub of the Dragon Princess Queen. Everyone knows you can't breathe in space. There's no oxygen. Lee panicked. Everyone knows how babies are made. Tenten deadpan, reminding her teammate the useless facts of different worlds being different. Just a nice, long, relaxing soak was needed. A nice long soak with her daughter. Ichino said, slowly making a shock face, then a smile, and repeated the process as Fen continued reading. Yes, daughter. Mama, tell me more about Papa Naruto. Wait, what? Naruto gawked. I have a daughter. Oh now this is interesting. Fen chuckled with amusement. How did you do it, kid? Hold up. King said, passing his friend and also the female of the author some shields. Just in case. Aye. The girls, excluding Peach, scream in joy as they surrounded Naruto and hugged him. We knew you chose her. They cheered in happiness to see the Prince Naruto finally be with Bosette. That off of me? Naruto wailed out. Well, I'll be. He actually hit it off. Kiba snickered. Peach, however, was the only one not sharing the happiness. Actually, we have a problem. That isn't Naruto daughter in your traditional sense. What? The girls shouted in surprise. I'm not the father. Naruto blinked. You are, but not the way you imagine. She said with small blush before looking kindly to the reader. Sir Fen, please read onwards. Bosette Jr., her daughter, her one and only daughter. Several months previously, she had applied with the magical baby island in order for a stork to bring her a Koopa child of her own, with her own DNA. Bosette Jr. was a perfect replica of herself, down to almost every last detail. Standing at close to 3'11" in height, the average height for a very young Koopa, since her kind were quite mature, even when they were new to the world, with all of the same looks in general as her. Wait, so they actually used the whole stork story? Fen deadpanned. Unbelievable. Wait, so that means they have to have sex to make a kid? Kiba cried before slumping back to his seat. Aw man, I feel so bad for that Naruto, no fun in making the kid. This is so wrong in so many ways. Naruto blushed heavily. Just smaller, and instead of a dress, she wore a simple black skirt and a white bandana with a graffiti mouth on it. A cute little tail and a cute little spiked shell, and she wore regular sweatbands in black around her wrists and neck instead of spiked chokers. The resemblance is uncanny. Lee said, putting a hand on his chin. You think? Everyone else deadpanned. Oh, she's so cute. Sakura gushed at the little dragon princess. Too bad, it's not actually Naruto's kid. Ino pouted. Kid's King rolled his eyes at the teen's little romances overriding common sense. Appa is just the best. The first time I met him, he captivated me from the start. He's kind, loving, and an amazing prince to his people. Your papa is amazing. Bosette stated with a wide grin on her face. She sighed and laid the back of her head against the large water basin they were in, though Bosette Jr.'s feet were the only thing that she was soaking at the moment. The girls all gushed at the romantic declaration of love that Bosette was telling her daughter about her love. While Naruto just blushed red hearing such kind words from a woman who is in love with him, his alternate self. Peach, however, felt a bit unhappy hearing that before moving a bit more to Naruto. Unsure why she felt that odd feeling. She could swim, she just didn't want to get her new paintbrush wet, a very large paintbrush that was taller than she was. Ah, the princess stated with a smile, that's a blast from the past. She rhymed with a soft giggle. It was fun to act normal than a proper princess all the time. And Peach. I'll crush Peach into dust for always getting in the way. Bosette roared out as she slammed her hand against the side of the bath and cracked the stone side. Wow, that took a complete 180 Tenten blinked. Peach nodded dumbly, not really used to being the object of hate as she was always loved. Well, Boser was an obsessive kind, Mario normal one, and many more. It was kinda a sad feeling that Bosette hated her that much. However, Naruto saw this and moved closer to her. Hey, it's okay, I'm not really well liked, so it's not a good feeling, but you got us. He said, trying to cheer her up in a respectful manner, but also as someone who felt what she is feeling. Her eyes went from blue to burning red for a second as flames poured out of her mouth before she calmed herself down and wiped the spit from her lips. Peach is a horrible, bad woman, and she always takes Naruto away from me. Papa would be with us right now, but he was kidnapped by the plumber Peach. Bosette looked away from Bosette Jr. when she said that, since she knew that the lie would be detectable in her eyes. Naruto was about to say something to Peach until he looked down and saw her hand clutched his own, so he just flipped his hand over and locked fingers with hers. Giving it a slight squeeze that made her also return it, the blonde smiled to see her smile return and return his eyes to the scene. $5 as she'll want him to come back home with her. King told the newest arrival holding his wallet to him. I'm not taking that bet, Fen deadpanned. She had yet to introduce Naruto to her daughter since she herself had only been a mother for a while now. She wanted to introduce them, but she had wanted Bosette Jr. to get some base values that were important to being Cooper royalty before she met with Naruto. Instilling those important values of power and conquest were important factors that helped develop a young Koopa into a proper adult one day, and if she had introduced them before those values took hold, then Naruto might not approve of the lessons. Naruto is a deadbeat dad gah. Kiba cried out when a quick strike in his ribs caused him to suck in his words. Who did that? Somehow everyone didn't notice Hinata, who was blushing for attacking her teammate like that. Crush Peach's Peach strong? Bosette Jr. asked as she held onto her paintbrush tightly, with narrowing eyes. Oh boy, Kiba muttered. This promises violence, for sure. Shikamaru agreed. She never fights fairs. I would have crushed her 1,000 times over if only she fought me in a fair way. She is a bully. If you want to fight her, you've got to outsmart her. Bosette growled out as she flexed each of her fingers. She started to grow in size as her rage took hold of her, becoming larger and larger before she let out a calming breath and returned to her usual 9'3" size and let loose a sigh. They are here on the island now, but Bosette was interrupted when Bosette Jr. jumped into the water and splashed her face. Is she drowning? Lee panicked. I think the splashing is considered drowning. Sasuke sighed at the stronger ninja idiocy. She sank below the surface of the water, only her tail out of the water, before she popped up with just her head and part of her tail. Then, I will rescue Papa. Naruto. Peach should be in jail soon enough. I've made sure of that myself. Bosette Jr. stated with a wide, sharp-toothed smile. Wow, that girl is gutsy, I'll give her that. Choji commented. Yeah girl, bring your parents together. Ino shouted with the others also joining her ideals. But how exactly will she do that? Sakura wondered. Bosette blinked. Ahahahaha. That's my kiddo. Bosette laughed loudly as she rubbed the top of her daughter's head. She didn't know when her daughter escaped her line of sight, not that she ever kept an eye on her child anyway, but she was amused to hear this. She had just assumed that her child was terrorizing the locals with pranks or something, letting a young Koopa go around and do what they wanted. That was how they learned and grew stronger. You're a chip off the old block. Also, where did you get that paintbrush? Bosette asked with a tilted head, having not seen her daughter with that before the trip. Dear God, it's like Boset Jr. is the Naruto we know. Kiba shouted, as this blonde is energetic, no sense of morality, for her fun, and lastly the pranking habits. Hey. I'm not that bad. We beg to differ. They all said, making Naruto flinch. A strange old man in a white coat gave it to me. Sounds like Professor Egad and it has that mad scientist symbol on it. Oh well, whatever, Junior seems to like it. Boset closed her eyes and relaxed in the water, sinking down to her chin in it. Who's Professor Egad? Naruto furrowed his brow in confusion. Peach lifted her free hand to explain this. He is a genius professor. Dr. Gad is a ghost expert, she shouted as the princess turned to see Naruto turn white at the mention of ghosts. But instead of letting go, she gave him a painful smile. It's okay, Naruto, there aren't any ghosts. Here, she squeaked out as she felt a small grip before it lessened. And what exactly does he do? Niji asked. Oh, this and that, Peach said weakly, not trying to say the G-word in case of her poor dainty hand being crushed into fine powder. The girls nodded before inwardly squealing on their Naruto being cutest with Peach, yay double pairings. She started to breathe small amounts of fire into the water. The fire came out as super hot bubbles instead and superheated the water around her so that it was more like what she was used to. I used my Shadow Peach trick to make him think I was Peach and he just gave it to me, such a dumb old genius. Wait, so she made the Shadow Peach? Naruto gawked. Yes, that one of Egad's odd creations, but I never said it again though. Peach stated, often seeing Bowser Jr. using other stuff besides that item. Including Mario's little toy too. Ha. Boset laughed as she floated on her back moments later, laughing up a storm as she imagined Gad falling for such a little trick. Then again, his eyes weren't that great. She had kidnapped him a few times to build machines for her, machines that were destroyed by Peach and Mario Luigi on occasions. Her Koopa Clown car was an bad forced invention, since she forced him to build it for her and then build more for the Koopalings, and she was going to have one built for Boset Jr. That explains how she got it. Peach muttered, always wondering how she got that vehicle, as the Todds and a few others are the only ones who can make items like those in a quick notice. Boset Jr. smiled widely when she heard her mother's laugh before she jumped from the water and landed on the stone siding. She took her bandana around her neck and moved it over her mouth, her form shape shifting into a watery shadowy version of Peach. So it's almost like a genjutsu. Hinata said as her teammates knew firsthand by their teacher that genjutsus are pretty scary way to battle against unless you know how to dispel them. She had a papa to get. I hope Prince will be with them. Tenten smiled with a warm feeling to see such a sweet daughter trying to be with father. I'm parched. Fen sighed, taking a water bottle to drink. Queen, mind finishing this up? I gotta grab some takeout for dinner. Hant, we got to finish this, otherwise Ku might break your legs. And funny as that, I can only deal with one cripple guy. She pointed to King, whose legs suddenly snapped. Seriously, I just said I would lick Skoo. Everyone looked at the rider with odd looks before Fen continued. But Naruto. Achoo. Are you okay, Prince Naruto? Toadsworth asked as the two of them waited together for Peach to be released from jail so that she could start to clean the goo from the island. When they arrived on the island, they had right away been met with a large inky creature resembling a piranha plant. Peach had found a water machine, jetpack object, that helped her to clean up the creature. Geez, that must have taken forever for her to clean, Kiba muttered. Actually, not really, some water and it comes clear off. Peach said, remembered doing her own little studies to see how she could help Naruto. Although her little side project was over when she was kidnapped by Junior. Then she had been taken to jail, and though Naruto tried to defend her, it was a hard case when they had eyewitnesses that stated Peach did it. Naruto was royalty, but he had no control over Isle Delfino since it wasn't part of the Mushroom Kingdom. Thankfully, she had managed to reduce the sentence from death to community service. Ahem. Kiba shouted as Prince Naruto must have upgraded his tongue into gold to get that deal. The shine spites the sunshine is so weak now here, this place seems so sad. I hope Peach can help this place. Naruto stated as he stood next to his toads, who he was having to keep away from goo since they wanted to touch it. Naruto took a deep breath before he sighed to himself. Even on vacation he still protects his subjects, and his subjects keep being dumbasses. Tenten deadpan as her teammates agreed, well, not Rock Lee, as he only again to the former and not the latter. What a start to a vacation. Also, where were his mothers? Wait, where are they? Naruto said as he wondered what happened to them. Wait for the next chapter, Fen said. And with that, I need to buy takeout. Boom. Everyone watched as Naruto enter the room. Forgot that I left the idiot here, the words appeared before snapping his fingers. Hop. Fen vanished as the tablet was smashed. Aw man, you know how long this takes me to fix it. Queen shouted at the godly being who blinked at the sudden yelling from the usual calm one. Fucking prick, gonna slap, she mutters as Azure Queen headed to the table and started to work on the broken device. How come you're not breaking her legs? King asked his boss, who shrugs. She is cool and I like breaking your bones was all that the word said as King smiled. You love Mga. Sku gave the most ghostly of ghost smiles as he made King tongue elongate as he tried to speak before looking at the others in the group. And nod as he left with the words burning in the wall. The next words are going to be stats, so Queen can fix the tablet for the next chapter. Have fun and take some time off. Ping watched as a portal opened above him and Fen fell from it. I thought Sku Naruto kicked your ass out. He said as the other shinobi circle around him to stare at him. Nope. Fen denied. Oh, and I go by a different pen name now. Man, I hope pausing them with Jur didn't cause any side effects. Queen said, pointing to the Konoha shinobi. And a new pen name? Yep. I go by Kamen Rider Duelist now. But you guys can still call me Fen. You and King are two of many besties. And my besties get to call me that. Plus I was on a 2-month trip to the Philippines. I really needed that. Oh right, that's why Sku sent you back to our home, man. When I want to show my affection by licking him, he ties up my tongue. King said as everyone took one comical step back, save for Queen. Oh what? Fen blinked. He likes traps. She shrugged as King blushed, flailing his arms around. I won't judge. Fen said, turning around. Anyways, Naruto, don't you have a story to read to the rest of us? Right, who's next? Naruto asked looking around the area. It was me, Hinata, then Lee, me, Niji Kinda, Tenten, Peachum, Kiba, then Fen saw K listed out, then pointed to the remaining members. So Sakura, Ino, Shikamaru, Choji, and King and Queen. Gan Kenpo between Ino Shikacho. Lee suggested. I'll take it, there's one who has enough male stupidity. Sakura started taking the tablet from King, ahem. King then looked at the readers, BTTUBS we're skipping the bios. He had to admit, the graffiti-like paint everywhere was kind of pretty in its own right, in how vibrant some of the colors were. There were some beautiful mixes of colors, and then there were the still very vibrant brown shades as well. The colors all looked rather pleasing to the eye, and it didn't give off a horrible stench either that one would expect. It didn't smell good, but it didn't smell bad either. It does rather good artwork. Niji admitted as he did see some genius in the works. Prince, surely, you would still prefer relaxing. Despite the state of Delfino Isle, you're still on vacation. Naruto mostly ignored Toadsworth as he looked over the papers that he had with him. He had a pen in hand and was signing some things. He didn't have a ton of work with him and the work he did have was not for his own kingdom. Man, he's a workaholic. Choji said opening a new bag of chips courtesy from Fen, thanks for the food man. These are from the Philippines. They're really good. Bosette has a low reading level and her political negotiations are abysmal to say the least. I'm doing something for her kingdom to open up a little tourism for her. I am plotting a few racing tracks that will go through some of her unused castles. Naruto had a detailed map of several of her castles and he was plotting a racing track on them. He was making adjustments that he would give to Kamek so that he would be able to make the adjustments to the castles in order to make them themed racing tracks instead of usable castles. Wait, hold on, since when was real estate a thing in this story? Ino asked incredulously. Everything is real estate. Queen screamed out. But damn, who knew Bosette sucks at reading? Called Tenten shouted from behind once more. Let's keep reading. Shikamaru groaned. Before my head hurts. Oh Bosette. She isn't here, seriously, once you get past her personality flaws, her horrible eating habits, and her utter lack of royal aura, she isn't that bad to be around. Once I get the racing set up, I do plan on allowing her to participate. I even sent invitations to Peach's brothers and several others who could please a crowd. Naruto explained with a cheeky grin that slipped through. He planned on televising all of the races so that everyone could enjoy them and participate in some light gambling, within restrictions, to prevent his toads from getting gambling addictions. He already had several casinos throughout his kingdom, but his toads didn't often visit them. AWWW. The girls cried out holding Prince Naruto and Bosette fans, banners, and are those t-shirts? When did they? Queen asked as she was sure as possible that she paused them for months. It's best not to question it. Fen said, placing a hand on her shoulder. They were usually visited by Koopas and Goombas, with some shy guys. Shy guys playing poker must be hard to tell when they're bluffing. Koba joked as his teammates just shook their heads at his bad joke. Still, you can't expect her to. Toadsworth, I won't hear another word on the subject. Let me remind you, this isn't a democracy, I am your ruler. You are my advisor, true, but in the end it is on me to make the final choices on all things concerning my kingdom. Naruto glanced at Toadsworth, who could sometimes forget his place. He was extremely caring, and he was somebody that Naruto respected greatly, who would always have his opinion valued. Wow, shot down, Kiba said wide-eyed with Akamaru barking in agreement. At least he takes his opinions into consideration. Hinata noted. Toadsworth is a bit overprotective of me, and with Naruto being a very good ruler. I believe him trying to remind him of the possible consequences. The princess stated as the other heirs and heiress nodding to that understanding. Still, Naruto valuing his wealth of experience didn't matter when he knew for a fact that Boset would be a little less likely to conquer other kingdoms for riches if her own kingdom was pulling in tourism. She didn't have a mind for it, she was a total idiot, so he had taken it upon himself to contact Kamek and work on her kingdom behind her back. Man, I feel so bad for him, Naruto complained, doing his own work on top of Boset-chan's. Well, can you blame yourself? Choji retorted. It seems that the dope would always try to do too much, but at least the prince actually has the skills to do it. The Uchiha smirked as Naruto stuck his tongue at him. Woo. A small jellyfish-like creature filled with goo crawled towards them before it tensed up and jumped towards them. Shy Gal jumped in front of the gooey creature and it splattered all over her, covering parts of her in goo. Peach was currently doing battle against a giant gooey imitation of a piranha plant, and one of these little helper creatures must have broken off from the pack and tried to attack them. Shy Gal had taken the blow for them and she landed in the sand, turning her head to look at Naruto. She sent him a thumbs up that was barely visible from under her sleeves. Ew, what is that slimy thing? Ino shuddered in disgust. Oh, that's a goop. Peach said as King paused the screen to pull up another screen. It showed the jellyfish being their sentient creatures formed from the graffiti from Boset Jr.'s brush. Although causing physical harm like stepping on them can work, it would be better and more efficient to use water to wash away the leftover paint. Using artwork as way to fight sounds dumb. Naruto bluntly stated as the riders held small smirks knowing what will happen in the future. He gave her a thumbs up back. At least he trusts his mother's word. Ino said knowing that it was hard for her dad to trust her word on things until she became a genin. She was a daddy's girl, and having an overprotective dad was good and bad on some days. Wow, you get so used to seeing our own slutty piranha plant that you sometimes forget other types exist. Peach seems to be having a rough time working on the cleaning. Koopa walked down the steps and got onto the beach, looking at everything that was going on. The mini-boss-like monster seemed to ignore everything but Peach, and most of the tiny goops seemed to ignore most of them. It seems Boset's Jr.'s goop is making trouble for Peach, as it seemed to happen back in my world. Peach stated remembering that despite the trouble and chaos Boset J. Boser Jr. did, it wasn't really physical harm, just pranking with slight public destruction. Where is mommy? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. He hadn't seen her all day. Actually, where was Goomba for that matter? Usually these days she didn't go too far away from him. She would stay somewhere in the background, but she kept her eye on him for fear that he would get kidnapped. So Koopa and Shy Gal are there. Where is Goomba? Sakura stated as Hinata looked at her. What about P? Betting laid the rest of the genin said in monotone unison. Eating and not in her usual way. She found a fruit stand and she is pigging out. The fruit here is super juicy. Koopa stated with a cool tone. She just watched as Peach used her water jetpack to fight off the monster. She sprayed it in its mouth and it seemed to suffer from swallowing the water. Ooh, I'm not a fan of Peach's way of dealing with creatures. I think I saw her stomp on a regular Koopa's head. Koopa said with a shiver, remembering the days when she had an actual shell. Geez, what's Peach's problem? Tenten huffed. Well, Mario in my world often knocks out Goombas by doing so. He even had steel toe boots on, special ones too stubborn to lose. Peach said remembering that she and Mario took a trip to an odd land that seemed to only make her remember it like some kind of 2D pop-up world. Or was it a hammer? She trailed off as that whole adventure was a trip and half to remember. I don't know, but Naruto then suddenly sniffed the air. Hey, who's cooking? Everyone turned to see Fen had pulled out a grill that already had food on it and he and Choji were grilling chicken teriyaki and vegetables. What? I'm hungry. Choji said. Don't worry guys, I got plenty. Fen said, showing various amounts of fresh ingredients in plastic containers. Ignore the hungry idiots. King replied before turning his head to watch the screen. Proceed. Glad Choji made a friend. Shikamaru said with a soft look, knowing it was hard for Choji to make a friend beside the usual gang, as many would just insult or joke about his weight. Her usual way. Toadsworth never paid much attention to the mothers. She sticks her feet in water and drinks up nutrients. She rarely uses her mouth to eat, but she has never been to Isle Delfino. Koopa spoke as she winced upon seeing the monster resembling a piranha plant get destroyed. At the goo that made up the monster started to vanish and she nudged Naruto with her foot as she started to lay down in the sand. This goo stuff isn't that bad. Might be good for the skin. Koopa took the good with the bad on this vacation. So he has a mother who was a plant and gets laid and has a mother who was a little sidewalking troll and now can absorb water like plants. Sakura said, clutching her head from the impending headache approaching. I'm so confused. Ino cried out, holding her head too as her eyes became swirls. I also didn't know that they could do that. Peach said, trying to sound optimistic about the new info. Naruto just hummed as he finished plotting out the first track and started to plot out the second one, ignoring the statue rising up from the goo behind him. Dude, work on that later. Fan yelled as Naruto smiled at his counterpart. He works all he has into his work, like me. He said with a large smile before Sakura smacked his head from behind. And we had to stop you from getting blown up when walking a bunch of dogs into the African minefield. She said, making her teammate depressed at the reminder. This land here could be used as a golf course. It's in the perfect spot and there is no natural function for this land due to the terrain itself. Naruto looked at the map and circled it, labeling it for a future golf course. Shadow Peach appeared on top of the statue, looking down at Naruto. Not good. Tenten pointed out the figure as Peach nodded, who was the one hiding behind a disguise in the shape of Plumber Peach. It's you, the one who framed me. Peach shouted as she got ready to battle her copy. Naruto glanced up when he heard that shout, turning around to see Shadow Peach on top of the statue. Naruto blinked in surprise, the thing he saw in the video being confirmed to be true now. No shit, Sherlock, ow. Kiba shouted when Ino pulled on his ear for his crude words. Language, you idiot. Ino scolded. So Peach didn't actually do it. Are they really that dumb? Shikamaru said, tired but serious voice. To quote Fen-san, it's best not to question it. Shino shook his head. Just how low is your opinion of her family? Naruto asked Koopa, who seemed shocked by the fact Peach was actually innocent. Naruto turned and saw Shadow Peach jump off of the statue and land feet away from him. Oh, here we go again. Naruto stated with dull eyes when he was picked up and thrown over Shadow Peach's shoulder. Doesn't that ever get tiring? Neji slightly deadpanned at Princess Peach. Yes, but it seems Prince Naruto is used to it. The young woman said with a weak smile. Yep, couldn't even go on vacation without being kidnapped. Yeah, he accepted it. Shino deadpan at the prince, just allow it to happen. Prince Naruto. Oh come on, don't I ever escape on my own anymore, Naruto complained. This is just ridiculous. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Naruto called out to them as Shadow Peach started to run away from everyone, making her escape as the real Peach followed after, trying to spray them with water. He was too used to this at this point, so Naruto just continued the work he was doing as he plotted an 18-hole golf course. He would talk with Bosette later about getting her workforces to start construction, maybe next time she kidnapped him. Do you mind kidnapping me a little more gently? Your running is making it hard to make golf courses for the Koopa Kingdom. Naruto questioned his kidnapper with a raised eyebrow. When being kidnapped he still does work. If he had a kid, I bet he can still do his work and change a diaper without trouble. Ino said, a dreamy tone, wanting a man like that. It was a reasonable request, naturally. Yes, it is. Naruto shouted to the ceiling, just enough for me to look badass. Naruto got a face full of water, courtesy of Peach, and he noticed the way that it seemed to comfort Shadow Peach. Naruto sighed to himself before he grabbed onto Shadow Peach's ear and yanked on it, bringing Shadow Peach to a halt instantly. That works, the blonde male said with a grin, enjoying the cool moment the prince pulled off. Oh we. Naruto landed on his feet and continued to hold onto Shadow Peach's ear. Oof, that's a strong grip, Prince Kun has Lee said, knowing Guy Sensei is like that when he is making trouble or hard to control. Look, now the map is all wet. I have to start over again and I worked so hard on this. Okay, time to drop the disguise. Naruto twisted Shadow Peach's ear some more and the disguise started to fade away as Peach arrived at their spot. Wow, he pulled her disguise off while still holding her ear. Sasuke said, astonished by the feat. It's your fault. Peach was stopped when Shadow Peach transformed into a mini Bosette. This is hilarious, Bosette ate a poison mushroom. Peach laughed as she pointed at the smaller Bosette. Her grips temporarily put on hold as she mocked Bosette, who was nearly the height of her oldest brother. Naruto looked at the different hairstyle and the general attitude that she was giving off. He's more perceptive than we gave credit. Ino said with a finger scratching her cheek, if it wasn't the fact they had that scene where the learned junior was the daughter of Bosette, they might have come to the same conclusion. I'm not Mama, I'm Bosette Jr. I heard all about you from Mama, you're the big bad bully who always kidnapped Papa Naruto. Bosette Jr. shouted as she jerked her ear out of Naruto's grip. Naruto looked at Bosette Jr. in confusion for only a brief moment. His mind starting to go as he put two and two together. Okay, this made more sense. Again, does anything faze this guy? Sasuke asked as he liked to keep a cool head, but this guy was sub-zero level. It seems unlikely. Shino responded dully. Naruto sighed audibly. Bosette must have put in an order from the storks for a baby of her own, meaning this was a Bosette's daughter. Bosette, the crazed woman, must have filled this child's head with lies. Boset, who didn't get raised by parents, would naturally allow Boset Jr. to do whatever she wanted. Naruto pinched the bridge of his nose as he grabbed onto Boset Jr.'s shoulder before she could make her escape. Again, the fact that world needs no sex for kids is such a boring one. Kiba said, ignoring the glares from the girls. Hey, my clan is animalistic for a reason. Mom kicked Dad's ass out the door when he wasn't an alpha male. Is that why we don't see him around? Choji asked. Kicked out since I was 2. Dude's been gone. Kiba chuckled before realizing that he had to go in the chunin exams to not hear anything bad from his mom and sister. Wow, and your mom just took care of everything. Lee said, impressed. I can definitely respect that. You respect that? She kicked out her husband. The pink-haired girl started as her focus was starting to go away. Queen covered Sakura's mouth, going out of topic. Read on. Appa. You seem smarter than your mother, so I'm going to give you the option: apologize to the people of this island and help Peach clean. Wait, if she did it, why do I still have to clean? Peach asked with a shocked look. Ha! She got her just desserts. Naruto laughed at the scene. No way, she's a daddy's girl. Prince would just bow to her cuteness. I know my dad does. Ino said as Naruto placed down his stuffed frog wallet on the table. Wanna bet? I got at least 10D rank money in there. He said as Ino nodded, no doubt that she was going to win. You are an adult, though this child caused a trouble. It is only natural that adults help the child make amends for their mistakes. You are an adult and you have the tools for the job. Naruto explained to Peach with a tone that left zero room for arguments. He expected her to be an outstanding adult and offer a helping hand. Ino paled as she seemed that her friend's counterpart might be the strict parent before shaking her head. Come on, bend to her puppy eyes. Boset Jr. was stunned into silence. What was going on? Apologize? Boset Jr. thought as the odd word went through her head. She knew what it meant, but she also knew she wasn't supposed to do it either. How does she not know how to? Oniji started before comically going wide-eyed at this realization. Boset probably never saw anything wrong with her kid upbringing, that is. The fact Junior was like her mother exactly made her probably not in trouble, but spoiled by the dragon woman. Apologize to the people of this island and help Peach clean, or I will punish you the way that Boset won't, the way a parent is supposed to, and make you apologize. Naruto gave the options and allowed Boset Jr. to make the choice. The others started to arrive by this time as well. She's either going to cry like a baby, throw a temper tantrum, or pout that she doesn't want to Ino's side, knowing this battle was lost. Even Boset Jr. wasn't going to go against her. I'm not gonna help Peach, and I'm not gonna apologize either. The blonde ponytail Jenin smacked her face in disappointment, and that was the moment she fucked up. Naruto grabbed her ear and started to pull her towards the nearest public bathroom, not an ounce of hesitation. If Boset had raised this girl to believe him to be her father, when for the moment he was going to take on that role and show this girl what it meant to have a father who would offer discipline. Naruto and Boset Jr. disappeared in the bathroom while the others looked a little confused. Ino, Sakura, Hinata, Tenten, and even Peach become silent as they slowly shake at the impending and inevitable doom that is Junior's mistake. She screwed Kiba deadpanned. Wow, I would hate to be his kid. Sasuke agreed as Naruto nodded. He may not have a family, but he wasn't going to ever be like that. He already had bad moments in childhood. No need to repeat the process for his future kids. Then again, this Naruto might have gotten it and became who he is, so who's to say is wrong? What is going on? Goomba asked with curious glance at the bathroom. Boset had a kid. Peach answered back. Really? Koopa questioned with some surprise as well, before they all winced when they heard something very loud. Smack. They heard the smacking sound of flesh on flesh and a shout of pain echo from the bathroom. They heard a second smack and a third smack, and the smacks kept going and going for an entire minute as they all just listened to the sounds of punishment being given. Is it just me, or did everyone actually feel that? Naruto asked all of them, wincing all the same with each slap. The girls just looked meeky and looked like they wanted to cry themselves. Sorry for wetting the bed too, San. Ino muttered sadly. Sorry for crawling out the kingdom, Papa. Peach was next, nearly crying herself. Aka-san, I didn't mean to get dirt on the kimono you made for me. The Hyuga heiress rocked back and forth on the one scary memory that her sweet mother made her remember forever. Ah, Mama, I'm sorry I burned down Dad's favorite bonsai tree, Sakura cried out. The boys were just glad they never got spanked into their lives. Hell, the only time they got hurt by an older adult was Iruka when his big head jutsu caused them to fly into the wall. Piranha Plant walked up during this. Ooh, I hear the sounds of fun, can I be next? Piranha Plant looked towards the bathroom with a wide smile. Everyone just stared at her with a dubious look, showing that they weren't so sure how to respond to that. What is with her? The boys cried out in shock. Was she always a sadist? Queen looked at the king expectantly as the man blushed. Hell no. We agreed the 10th time we'd stop. King stated as Fen covered his ears. Gross man. The smacking stopped. Naruto appeared to walk out of the bathroom, holding Bosette Jr.'s hand as she rubbed her tear-stained cheeks with her other hand. Her butt had the burning red handprint on it as Naruto pulled the back of her skirt down before he used his free hand to gently rub the top of her head as well. Oh man, that's gotta hurt. Choji cringed at how red that handprint was. Damn, watching it in an anime form is making me feel bad for her. King said as his two friends nodded to his words. Now, I'll go with you to apologize and then we are taking you to your mother. I understand you are Cooper royalty, but that is no excuse to hurt these people's way of life. Naruto gently lectured the child following the spanking. The girl just nodded her head as she continued to cry, but she rubbed her forehead into his headpats as well. That melted the girl's heart from being a stern man who will have no regret in punishing his child, reaffirm his love and well-being for his child. Only made them do one thing. The AWWW. This was no doubt the first time in her life she was spanked or punished at all for doing bad things. Okay papa, I won't sniff hurt Il Delfino anymore, Bosette Jr. apologized to Naruto, even though he was still going to make her apologize to all the residents on the island as well. She opened her eyes and she glared hatefully at Peach though. As if being punished were Peach's fault, Naruto sighed a little because a single punishment wasn't enough to knock out the Koopa nature in her. Still, he wasn't going to punish her for being a Koopa child just when she did something bad. That's a kid's mindset, blame someone else for your mistakes. Shikamaru stated with a chuckle. Dumbest move and the least easy way to go in life. The boys all nodded in agreement. Glaring at Peach wasn't something he would spank her for. Now, Peach, keep cleaning while I help Bosette Jr. here to apologize. Naruto told Peach, who seemed to regretfully salute to Naruto's command. Naruto pulled on Bosette Jr.'s hand, urging her to come with him. Maybe after, he could enjoy a nice vacation once he redid the work that he had done and finished the light work he brought with him. At least he wants to have a little fun before working more. Kiba said slightly relieved that Prince Naruto wasn't against having some time off. All work and no play would crap how that movie line go again. Who knows, it might be possible to turn Bosette Jr. into an upstanding person if he started to correct her nasty ways while she was still young. It was time to test nature versus nurture. So much disaster coming his way. Fen said with a smirk as the genin nodded. Alright, so was next to read. Sakura said as she watched the three riders summoning cakes. Cause I am eating. The three laughed as it was nice change of pace to hang out here with the cast. Peach smiled as she saw the rest eat, she was already full when coming here, so she took the strange device and began to read. Okay, head count. Naruto went through a list to make sure that everyone got what they needed and were all ready to board the plane. The vacation was over, the island was all cleaned of goo, thanks to the combined efforts of Peach and Bosette Jr., who hated Peach with a passion. Everyone had a lot of fun, and he had finished the little business that he needed to do on the island. Already going home? Sakura said while slowly spooning a piece of strawberry cake into her mouth, then again it could have been a few weeks since the last one. That's true. Sasuke said drinking some black tea. Koopa stated as she raised her hand, having a large suitcase filled with preserved foods from the island that she was going to save for later snacking days. Under her other arm, she had a jar filled with sand from one of the many beaches on the island. She was even wearing a different shirt with a sprite on the front of it, though she wore the same shorts as always. Ah, she's one of those people to buy rare snacks you can only get. Naruto chuckled as Peach nodded as Toadsworth was the same, along with Mario, as he took a bunch of food back with him to share with Luigi. Goomba was relaxed with her hoodie shaped with a sleeveless version of it, what fell just below her breasts. She had a sunburn, but otherwise she seemed like she had fun as well. I can't tell, Ino said as she too would like to get a tan one day. Lots of males like that kind of exotic skin as few ninjas outside of Kumo were naturally dark skin or have tan bodies. Drop the egg. Naruto stated to her, and she allowed a large Yashi egg that she was hiding behind her back to fall to the ground. She had been eaten a few times by the Yashi of the island, thankfully with only slight mental trauma from it. Koopa loved to collect things, all types of things, so she was the type to bring back a ton of stuff. Goomba was the opposite of her in that regard. The girls looked slightly disgusted at the thought of keeping something that could eat you and then evacuate you into a gooey egg. But the idea of having a cute dinosaur was not that much a bad idea. Peach stated as she raised a hand, wearing tourist gear instead of overalls. Flood was still on her back since she was going to be keeping the pack at her home with her brothers. With Flood. Peach added, and Flood gave a nod to show its acceptance of this. Naruto gave them a nod since he would approve that. Everyone turns to the princess in hopes to get an understanding. Flood is a machine that shoots out high-pressure water. It helped Mario during the island and she has been staying in the home of the brothers, although it's been a long time since I saw her. she said as the genin nodded to her words. It made sense. Shy Gal was covered in flowers, a flower necklace, headband, and her hoodie was shortened so that it covered half of her breasts, and she wore a grass skirt. She didn't have anything visible on her that was suspicious to him at first glance. Empty them. Naruto stated to her. The whole room didn't much as blink as the quietest member was up to something with covering her body in flowers. Shy Gal hesitated before she started to take objects out of random spots on her body and out of the flowers that she was using to hide things. Naruto wanted to account for everything that was being taken with them from the island to make sure all of it was fine. Shy Gal had taken several rare mushrooms that only grew on the island, as well as smuggling research papers from the lab that Gad had on the island hidden. He didn't know when she had the time to find it or what else was there, but the blueprints for some strange item was nestled between her breasts. Naruto recorded everything that she was trying to smuggle and nodded his head so that she could pick them back up. She is almost shinobi level good, Choji said, dropping a chip from his grasp when the pile was slowly growing. Boset. Boset shouted loudly, not technically with their group it would seem, and she had the happiest smile on her face. She had forgotten her usual dress and was wearing the local fashions of the species of the island, made to fit her size. Since she needed to get home too, she was simply being given a ride. Alright girls, that's it, I'm placing my bet on this pairing. OTP right there. She said, placing down a note that says 5,000 Ryo. Ditto. Sakura said as only Tenten joined in as Hinata was silently hoping for a shy girl besides Naruto's Shy Gal mother to appear. If not, she will bet on Daisy. Also, Naruto wanted to make sure that she and her daughter didn't try and get up to something once he left the island. Another good reason as well. The boys muttered out as they comically deadpan at that reasoning from Prince Naruto. Boset Jr. Boset Jr. raised her hand up, dutifully since Naruto had called for a roll call. Naruto looked at her with her brush and his eyes wandered over her body to make sure that she too wasn't trying to smuggle something. I won't do anything bad while Papa is around. Boset Jr. puffed her non-existent chest out with pride. She wouldn't do anything while he was around. As a proud member of the Cooper royal blood, she would keep doing bad things so long as she could get away with it. So would that mean Ino started, as she once had a similar thought pattern when Naruto wasn't around to spank her for it. Ah, there it is, the blonde girl said, knowing that Boset Jr. is a daddy girl but won't act up now. While she could get away with things with her mother, she quickly learned not to cross her papa anytime soon. The girl nodded in approval for this idea, a worthy idea for a follow daddy's girl. Piranha Plant didn't even try to hide the fact that she had done a lot of naughty things over the course of the vacation. She had, from where she had been in the sunlight for extremely extensive periods of time, she didn't burn, with her dress on, while she did her dirty deeds where everyone could see. It had been a hassle keeping her away from Boset Jr. in order to prevent the Koopa princess from learning from her horrible example. Her luggage were no doubt sex tapes that she had recorded of herself with the loyals, all the different sentient species of the island, as well as photos of the local plants, which was her family-friendly hobby. Piranha Plant. Also Piranha Plant. Piranha Plant too. What? Koopa and Goomba asked in sync, while Shy Gal started to count the numbers of piranha plants with human female forms. She pointed at 3 of them and saw that 2 more had been hiding behind theirs. They had the same height and figure, but the leaves on top of their hats were different and their green hairstyles were different as well. What? X17, the group, including the riders and 2 stands, shouted as they did a double take on the screen. Oh god. They're multiplying. Kiba cried, it's like those sex virus hentai I watched, I mean. He started as the girls gave him dark glares. That my dad left behind. Didn't help. As the glares were icy cold still. Naruto blinked for a moment. Huh? Boset Jr. asked when she noticed the wrong number of piranha plants, and Boset herself just blinked in confusion and began counting their numbers on her fingers. Knowing her mother lacks brain power, this might take a bit. Sakura giggled as Ino nodded. I've soaked up so much sunshine while here that I've reproduced by putting my seeds in the ground, and these are my sister clones Piranha Plant and also Piranha Plant. Piranha Plant introduced her sisters, since they were exact genetic copies of her down to her memories and personality. They weren't her children, since they had 0 genetic diversity from herself, and they did have all her memories as well. What Naruto started as Sasuke went next, the lastly was Kiba fuck. Everyone looked to Naruto to try and see how he would take this. He just raised an eyebrow. Then someone make this guy react to something besides that, the girls cried out. This Mogap Naruto was so hard to not frown over, but if he gave a cute smile or dashing blush, they would have been blown back by comical nosebleed shots. Then Aunt and Auntie it is then, you with the long straight hair will be Aunt Plant, and you with the curly hair will be Auntie then. Everything is solved, since we've been here for 2 weeks, and you only produced 2 of them, it seems that we don't need to worry about any more surprises. Welcome to the family, Toadsworth, set them up with their papers when we return. Naruto took the new information in stride, not being surprised or bothered by it for the most part. Her biology was different in that unlike humanoids and Koopas, instead of reproducing by stork, her species actually did so by the females of the species cloning themselves. Did you accept them? Naruto and the genin said in total shock when they were slack-jawing at the sudden acceptance of Prince Naruto welcoming his new family. Seriously? Does anything or anyone can make this prince finally break his usual mask? It would seem that instead of getting her offspring by stork, she got them by self-replication just like a normal piranha plant did. Would that be self-impregnation or masturbating? Once again Kiba shut his mouth and moved close to the guys as the girls, now including Peach, were starting to generate an icy aura. Yes. Lesbian. Ugh, the girls now lost the aura as it was kinda not Kiba's fault for thinking like that, as all three of the plant girls were going to say. Tile present, don't say those next two words. Naruto could tell they were going to say something along the lines of lesbian masturbation orgy or something, since they were just as likely to fuck each other despite being the same genetically. If his parent was willing to try and have sex with him since he was a toddler, then no doubt she would have sex with herself. Anyway, since we're all here, let's get everyone in the plane. Naruto gestured for everyone to start walking by him. Understanding for his mother's sudden clones and now her okay with having sex masturbating Kiba again said it, but instead of a humorous tone, it was more confusing. If they were really the same with sex or playing with yourselfs. The girls let him have a freebie as the other males were also thinking on the subject, boys always did think of the most useless topics. This was a fun vacation, I can't wait to tell Mario and Luigi all about it. Peach spoke with a wide smile as she passed him. She had gotten to do so much fun stuff after the island had been cleaned up, which had gone by really quickly, with the help of the little shit Bosette Jr. Ahaha, I hope Plumber Me uses her new friend more than Mario does. Princess Peach giggled in hopes that she could see the machine. Mario does use it for his real job to help clean pipes and even keep the town clean when he has free time. Naruto hummed in response as everyone passed by him. I'll kidnap you my love when we get back home. Bowsette told him with a determined stare, only to hit her face on the plane's door when she forgot to crouch down. Being 9'3" was not a convenient thing when everything was made for people shorter than her. Not to mention the fact she wore 6-inch heels that added even more to her height, so she was closer to 10 feet tall with those added on. The girls, even some guys, Akali and Naruto all said their usual piece for Bosette's usual love declaration. Prince, are you sure that it is okay for more of her to be allowed? Toadsworth asked as the triple threat piranha combo passed by him, giggling and whispering amongst each other. Teach him? Sakura asked the blonde woman who nodded to allow her to continue, is Toadsworth usually talkative with you? The woman took a moment to think about it as she placed a finger on her cheek and tapped it for a few moments. Normally no, if the events, besides Naruto ending Junior's mischief sooner, are an exact match. Then Toadsworth is actually more proactive in speaking, as this one seems to ask Naruto for his choices. Isn't that bad? Naruto asked as the woman turned to him and shook her head softly at her new friend. No, dear Naruto, the girls didn't help but giggle, save for Hinata who pouted slightly at the cute wording Peach used. I have done things like allowing Bowser or other dangerous beings into the racetrack and even tennis matches. I know it was a bit dangerous, but I know Bowser would at least keep his word to not do anything dangerous to interrupt them. So he wanted to play and listen to the rules. He nodded as Peach giggled at his simplistic understanding, well he was not as smart as Prince Naruto. He was smart to understand Bowser's reason for not messing things up. The princess couldn't help but wonder if she could take him back and help with his studies. Although she shook her head at the thought, he was a warrior for his home. She couldn't bear to take him away from his home. Naruto didn't even spare him a glance. Life is precious, be it man, woman, child, or self-replication. She isn't evil, just lustful, and her clones being the same way is worrisome, simply because it means I have to do more work to keep their activities under control. Other than being a future headache for me, they've done nothing wrong. Naruto was strict with Toadsworth on this. They were a new extension of his family, which was all he needed to ensure their protection. Toadsworth was just being a little racist thanks to the general opinion toads held of the other species, and not racist in hatred, but racist in fear. Wow, this guy is not a prince, he is a full-on king. Shikamaru said with a slightly odd tone, which was surprising to his two teammates and the other males growing up with. He wasn't one to really show that much expression unless really full of said emotion. He was afraid of Piranha Plant and the rest of his mothers, so it was hard for him to accept more of them into the world. I think anyone would be. Everyone said this at the same time in a deadpan unison. This was the mindset that he was trying to change in the world, that you needed to fear what you didn't understand. It was why he tried to always look at everything with as open a mind as possible and accept people for their flaws while correcting the parts of them that were harmful to others. The other genin and Peach looked at Naruto, who was still staring at the screen, taking in the thoughts that Prince Naruto had, and nodded solemnly at his meaning. Naruto was similar to Prince. Sasuke knew that as he asked Naruto what happened when Haku made him lose consciousness. He took in Haku's words and despite not really wanting to, he voiced his concerns and tried to talk Haku out of it. While unsuccessful, he still tried to do what he asked and kill him. Yes sir. Toadsworth was a little flustered that he received a firm tone like that. Right, Prince Naruto was different than King Toadstool. Unlike his father, Naruto was truly suited for negations and had the aura of royalty when he was serious. He was a leader that you didn't follow out of obligation, you followed him because his aura was that of somebody you wanted to believe in. People of the kingdom had faith in him because he was somebody who you just felt safe with. He would be kind and caring when needed, but he had a firmness to him that was an iron will of unbreaking resolve. Being beefy and confident was always something anyone could see, and Naruto of the Mushroom Kingdom definitely has no lack of confidence and no need for beepiness. Peach nodded in approval. She too had times where she had to be strict, albeit rare. It showed her subjects to listen to her. When Prince Naruto had his mind set on something, he could not be stopped. Like our Naruto, Sakura said as she pulled Naruto to a side hug where his nose turned slightly red, and also pulled in Sasuke, who rolled his eyes at this friendly gesture. Click. The three outsiders walked into the room as King walked in. Seriously, we should stop leaving them on pause, I think they start to bug or something. King said, placing bucket of fried chicken on the table. And whose fault is that most of the time? Fen deadpanned with a dry look. Queen smiled darkly as she spoke, says the guy who hasn't updated stuff himself. She said as both boys suck in air through their teeth at that shot at the teen. Unpause them, Jur. She said, snapping her fingers as Sakura let go of her teammates. So who's next? She said, twitching oddly as she shook her head for the odd experience. Whoa, weird. Yeah, it felt like I was in this spot for months, Sasuke muttered out as the three teens paled as Fen spoke out. Don't worry about that. Hey, anyways, who's up next? Fen laughed forcefully. Oh. I will, Ino said, raising her hand as she noticed the bucket of fried food, and when did this she abruptly stopped when Naruto, Lee and Choji tackled the food, with Kiba also joining in the tussle. Hey, hands off the fried chicken. Choji snapped. It's mine. It's finger lickin' good. Kiba roared as the girls all just rolled their eyes, at least the other males. Ibs on the wings. Neji and Sasuke shouted, elbow dropping the others. Naruto, that's my coleslaw and biscuits. Give it back. Lee shouted. Not until you give back my potato wedges. Naruto snapped back. Wait, when did we get the biscuits? I thought we ate them on the ride here. Queen asked as the other two shrugged. Ignoring the comical dust fight, she looked at Ino as she set a couple teas on the table. Let's go on with the story. The girls nodded. The blonde teen spoke. Ahem. Catching the boys who stop their fight as they allow the storyteller to read the story. They need to leave after all to do the exams. Ooh, oh, my headaches are already worse because of them. Naruto sighed to himself as he looked at the sexual complaints against his newfound aunts. The newly born piranha women were already sexually on the prowl. Piranha Plant alone could cause a country's worth of sexual assault claims, and it had taken years before she learned what the point of not molesting the toads meant. Now there were two more of her, who were just as slutty, and were just as new to the sensations of their bodies as she had once been. Wait, Plant Mama was actually holding back. Kiba said with a shocked look, so that would mean that she isn't at full slut power. The girls all glared at Kiba for that comment, but the boys all took a moment to let his comment sink in their brains, as they all blushed immensely at the thought of a super nympho and a trio. Okay, moving on. Tenten said with an exaggerated roll of her eyes. Oh, pre-ance. Not now, Bo said, I'm busy, you've already kidnapped me, I've got a lot of work to do. Naruto mentioned as he worked on signing certain papers that he had brought with him, with one hand. She had kidnapped him while he was working, so he had been able to take his work with him to keep himself busy. Sheesh, she never gives up, does she? Tenten's sweat dropped. Neji gave a deadpan look in return. I think it's more impressive that Prince Naruto is just used to this. It really shocks me that this Naruto and the Uzumaki-san are such different people just from being raised differently. But his cousin didn't appreciate that comment, given a rare look of disdain at his words. Well, it shows at times he is our Naruto. Sakura said before a scene of when Naruto was angry when the girls came into his bath. See? He can fly off the handle too. As the others all nodded in affirmative on her reasoning. Bosette showed him a ring. Eyes plan alpha. Naruto said as he passed the guys a few pillows to cover their ears. The reason? All the girls gave starry-eyed looks and auras of happiness. Ugh, this is such a drag, Shikamaru groaned. Even though the pillow covered their ears, they could still hear the muffled swoons and squeals from them. It's here. Tenten gushed out, clutching her throw pillow, kicking erratically as Sakura and Ino hugged each other. He's going to get married, Kaya. Peach and Hinata also said in utter happiness, despite the males all yelling at them to stop. Never show girls who are into romantic scenes as they are too loud. Do you like this ring with my symbol on it or this ring with my symbol on it? Bosette showed a different ring, only this one was silver instead of gold. I saw a manga like this, except the MC had a collar around his neck and the Yandere had him sign a marriage contract form. Sasuke said as everyone looked at him. He looked offended at the suggestive looks. What? It has good comedy, the dude gets himself into crazy stuff to help his aunt. Oh. Niji said as his eyes shot wide open at the hint. I've seen that manga, that was funny. Thank you. Sasuke groaned at the other person who reads a good manga. Who's your fav? It's before they can say anything Sakura pulled Ino to listen in, hoping to catch what Sasuke preferred if he answered back. Never thought I'd see the day that those two would actually have something in common, Naruto. Tenten muttered in bewilderment. His tame is so antisocial. Why are you in a towel? Naruto raised his head and looked at her, considering that she was literally wearing nothing but a towel at the moment. Her hair was dripping wet and she seemed to actually have been taking special care of herself. She even had a facial mask on, with her perfect skin it wasn't needed, but her taking her own beauty into account was new. You know what the reason is? Okay, I said it before and I will say it again, Naruto is lucky. Kiba chuckled as the video showing a nearly nude Bosette smiling while holding two small rings in her hands. Since we're getting married. I want to be ready for the wedding night, Prince. I'm too young to get my V-card punched. Naruto cried out in dismay as Hinata looked embarrassed as she had some thoughts on that subject as they are considered adults when getting their status as shinobis. Yep, figured it was something like that. Don't talk that way around Bosette Jr., it's inappropriate for a girl her age to hear. Naruto lectured Bosette as he used his cheek to cover Bosette Jr.'s ear and his free hand to cover the other ear. Since he was tied up currently, Bosette Jr. had taken the chance to curl up in his lap and look at the papers that he was working on. AWWWWW. The girls cooed at the sight of the two parents having a sweet wholesome moment along with their daughter. Once again the guys thanked Naruto for passing the pillows for hearing protection. He didn't mind her sitting in his lap so much as he minded Bosette implying crude things in front of her daughter. I want to do something. I want to. Naruto flexed his arms and snapped the ropes that were binding his body before he grabbed Bosette and Bosette Jr. by the ears and started to drag them towards the door. Bosette being forced to drastically lean down in order for his hand to hold onto her ear, neither of them were able to escape from his iron finger grasp. And the real man of the relationship is taking charge. Ino giggled as the sight of both the girls looking meek and in pain at the right ear gripping. This was a key example of being a daddy's girl when having a father like Prince Naruto. It's a great defense for someone who has a strong front. Okay, we're going to be getting rid of this energy you two have and teach you something constructive. We're going to be playing a good game of… What? Game of what? Lee cried out. Come on, don't keep us in suspense. Minus 30 minutes later. Soccer. Naruto finished as he finished drawing a chalk line around the field they would be using, which was behind Bosette's castle. He got the dry bones to set up some basic nets on either side of the field, and while it wasn't the best ball in the world, he got Kamek to bring them a soccer ball as well. The ho-ho. Peach clapped at the remembrance of the sport. I love soccer, although I constantly felt bad when kicking some of the players into the wall when I miss or hit the ball too hard for them to stop. Everyone all stared at Princess Peach in shock before comically scooting away from her a great distance. What? It's not like when I kicked the head off of Princess L. Never mind, I will keep that to myself, she whispered softly, realizing her words could be bad. Bosette blinked in confusion. We're going to play. Junior was just super happy. You know, despite the shit she pulled, she is a kid. Sakura stated as the others agreed, especially Naruto and Sasuke. She just wants to be with her parents. Yeah, the two male members of her team said softly. We're going to get some good physical activity, remember, always try to get in at least 30 minutes of some kind of physical activity every few days to maintain your health. Proper diet and exercise are the only ways to ensure the healthiest lifestyles. Naruto turned to the camera filming them, the Lakitu that was floating above them with a camera at this very moment, and he spoke that line with such a smile. The basics are simple, get the ball into the net without your hands. Naruto kicked the ball over to Bosette, who had taken off her heels for this and put on sneakers at his demand. She swooned. We're playing together. Man, is that girl head over heels for him, Tenten said, never not surprised at the girl's romantic sense overriding her usual self. The girls all agreed as she was some kind of a shoujo main character, often her head's in the clouds when her crush speaks. Now, since we don't have enough players, we will have two dry bones guarding the nets. Since I play sports quite a bit, it's only fair that I go against both of you. Naruto stretched his legs and back, preparing himself for the game. Peach looked at Naruto, who visibly shook at the two bones like turtles holding the goals. They aren't ghosts, they're magic. The boy let go of a breath of fear as he felt a bit better at the information. I'm going to beat you, Papa. Junior pointed at him and he just continued to loosen his body up. But Prince, you're so small and feeble compared to the Cooper royal bloodline. -2 hours later. How? Bosette asked as she knelt down on the ground, sweating from practically every part of her body as she looked at Junior, who had collapsed a while ago and was put on the bench. She looked towards Naruto, who had barely even broken a sweat from their activity. She's really out of shape. Hinata blinked in disbelief. Shikamaru shook his head, more like the prince is more physically adept. Remember, this Naruto is a true embodiment of a strong ruler. He must be strict on both his mind and body. If he slacks off, it might show on the outside. He stated, as to be a leader like the prince who wants to do the right thing. He needs to also be someone who would lead by example. So that means the prince should be a stamina freak like ours. Sasuke mused out as he noticed Naruto while complaining in the missions that were basically chores before the exams. While the whole day made him a bit tired, mostly from the boring moments, Naruto was always doing more training or playing with the kids he saved from Gaara. Stamina freak, the blonde princess whispered softly as her face slowly turned bright red, with Hinata also copying her. When their thoughts turn lead to certain indecent daydreams. You're strong and fast, but your body isn't one born through hard work and effort. You're just naturally beautiful with a good figure. A good ruler is sound in both body and mind, so I've been doing sports since I was a kid. Naruto lightly kicked the ball into the net, finishing out their little game, since he had done what he had been planning on doing. Wow, Ino said with an approving nod. He told her faults but doubled up on the compliments. It's a me, Mario. Mario? Peach questioned on the event that was happening. This never happened in her life. Well, the fact her Bowser was a guy and not an attractive woman was something not too eventful. But the fact Bosette did the same old kidnap with Prince Naruto as her Bowser did to her, then the whole vacation happening was also spot on. But if the timing of events was happening correctly, then he was supposed to be. Maybe she was overthinking it. Something wrong, Peachum? Naruto asked as the young lady shook her head, easing the worry of the blonde teen worries. Hello, Mario, is Peach busy today? Naruto wiped what little sweat there was on him with a towel and he saw Mario jump over the castle walls. She's feeling a little under the weather, let's get you out of here. Mario gave Naruto a thumbs up before he blinked and looked at Bosette, who was still on the ground trying to get her breath back. Looks like you didn't need help though. Mario glanced at Bosette, who even now had yet to gain her breath back. Does that happen with the original ones in your world too? Naruto asked Peach, who nodded. She twirled her hands around. Sometimes Mario is sick or has to help another island at times. So he asked if his brother can save me when he can't reach in time. Oddly enough, Bowser often asks if he does so he can adjust the sizes of the castle so that at least it's fair for Luigi not to bump his head where Bowser had his brother hide in mind. Naruto scooted up to her as he held her hand. Don't worry, we'll protect you. He smiled as the woman blushed at his kind and noble gesture. She flipped off Mario though. She's strong, but she has poor cardio training. Let's head back to the castle. I'll bake you a cake, one big enough for you to share with Peach and Luigi. Naruto planned on giving his thanks to the Mario family again. Man, he is a saint, Choji said with a fond smile. Anyone giving free food is okay in his book. Mario just looked at Naruto. Does nothing ever bother you? Mario had to question as he was allowed to walk out of the gates with Naruto, since nobody was even trying to stop them. The teens all laughed at the question they all were asking. The prince had balls, nerves, and heart of steel. He can't be shaken or at least fully shocked at anything. Of course not. Everyone leaned forward as they saw hesitation in his face. The group were now keenly invested in the scene. What made him hesitant on what could bother him? Something bothers you, doesn't it? Mario asked with a growing smile on his face, and Naruto looked away as he crossed his arms. He wasn't going to give away what got to him, not to somebody not related to him. Only 4 people knew the number 2 person that bothered him, and only 3 people knew what his number 1 fear was. Come on, it's just you and me, nobody has to. Mario was cut off, and Naruto blinked a few times. I know that look, it's the look of a man who saw his demise. Sasuke declared at the sight of Prince Naruto looking phased. What is it that made him pause? Oh no, this is bad, Naruto stated when, as if summoned by the very action of thinking about them, Naruto stared at the back of his head. Naruto quickly turned around and saw nothing behind him. They appear when he thinks about them. Shikamaru said in questioning what creature can do that. Naruto turned back around. There was a floating white figure in front of him. Who? Everyone, besides the 3 outsiders, freaked out. Naruto went down, eyes rolled into the back of his head and foaming at the mouth when he came face to face with his number 1 fear of all fears. The only thing that could provoke a horrible reaction out of him that he couldn't control if he tried. The Boo race. Ghosts. Ghost exists. Naruto, how do you, oh god. Sakura shouted as Naruto fainted, along with Peach also fainted as her hands seemed to be crushed from Naruto's grip when seeing the ghost. Naruto. Hinata panicked. So both Narutos are afraid of ghosts. So that doesn't change, who knew? Choji said with a shrug. I think we can talk more on that after we fix Peach's hands. Ino shouted as the genins all reached and tried to pry off their friend's hands off the princess' own. The young genius sighed as Peach's hand was healed by Queen Sen's unique power as she woke as they continued to move on without letting Naruto wake up, knowing his weakness. I'll continue. Choji said as he took the device and spoke out the first line of the new chapter as the screen on the wall showed a little ghost in the shape of a sphere, running that is floating to the person who was just off screen. You brought him, you brought the Mushroom Kingdom's most handsome bachelor. It was the same person that caused both Naruto and Peach to faint prior this chapter. Queen Buette. She walked with no legs, as she floated, and her body was nearly pure white as her ghostly tail flowed out from under her white dress. Long white hair that led to a golden crown with a purple jewel on top of it, and all of her teeth were spiky as she gave a wicked grin. The most colorful parts of her were her colorful eyes and her bright pink tongue, otherwise her skin was as white as the rest of her body. She, the queen of the Boo. Everyone looked at Peach, who nodded on why they turned to her. Boos are monsters in my land, usually mischievous little guys who aren't too bad if you don't bother them or aggravate them. Their king, however, is an ally of King Bowser, who at one point captured Mario into a painting. She explained, remembering the time Luigi had a horrible time with the fake mansion raffle he supposedly won, only to be stuck with a ghost-infested home instead. She, who was born dead, envied the living for their ability to so freely interact with those around them. She, who also envied her own Boo for being able to freely interact with each other. She, who envied the Prince of the Mushroom Kingdom for his ability to touch those around him and be touched by them easily. That's a pretty sad way to live indeed. Choji mumbled as his lower lip trembled on the idea of never eating his favorite foods. Ooh, the pain. Even it's just hypothetical. It wouldn't be a life worth living. But he noticed the girls to the side, save for Peach, was huddling and whispering to each other. He could barely hear new rival. And switching my bets until he continued on. Naruto, you toadstool. Prince of the Mushroom Kingdom. Boo. Beep. They all tried not to laugh desperately when they saw Queen Boo suddenly got into the face of Naruto with a cute smirk, only for the prince to turn white and pass out. Hehehehe, I love him so much. Buette watched as his head rolled forward as he passed out from her short little shout. His head rested on her cleavage, his unnatural levels of physical and spiritual energies in his body were so high, he was able to touch her physically, and she could touch him. She ran her hands through his hair and giggled to herself when she got to feel just how soft it was. Oh, his reactions are the best, his body is both hard and soft at the same time. Also, I can touch him. Buette stated as she bounced his face against her cleavage a few more times. 7-1. Ino said with a smirk as the girls shook their head as the boys only look at the girls with odd looks. She's so perfect. You want to get away with this? Oh, be quiet you, me and my dear sweat prince are going to have a long life and then afterlife together, you're just here to bear witness to the ceremony. Buette laughed in a wicked manner as she looked over at the tied up and blindfolded Mario, her sharp teeth posed in a grin. Oh Mario, Peach said with a sad tone as she felt bad for her usual hero being treated like this. That's like 100 years on top of an eternity, Shikamaru said with a tired look at the thought of a never-ending marriage with a strange woman. That would not be worth it with this lady. Ahaha. Oh, you say that you've spotted intruders on the property, well, take care of them. Buette stated when one of her boos came and told her about some green dude with a vacuum cleaner, and Queen Bo said. She kept Naruto's head firmly between her breasts since his heat was the only heat she could feel on her dead body. The sensation of live, well, she was undead and alive at the same time, but an amazing feeling for her. She had no heart, she had no real internal organs either, so being capable of touching him and feeling his inner heat. The boys couldn't help but blush at the sight of her doing that to Naruto, and also a bit jealous if they had to be honest, as the sight of Queen doing that was pretty hot and awesome. It was just new and amazing. My sister will come. But isn't she still sick? Hinata asked as the others shrugged on that, maybe she got over the cold now. But Peach. What do you mean? Mario and the prince were captured, cough cough, stupid cold, I don't have the energy to do anything, thankfully, Luigi is on his way. Peach spoke with the king over the phone. She had a severe cold, and not only was she unable to rescue the prince like always, but she was unable to even do her job as a plumber as well. Oh no. Everyone said as the only heroine to save the prince was still incapacitated. The green guy. Ouch, once again everyone, even Peach, deadpan when they referred to Luigi as he was considered the green Mario. Yes, Luigi Mario, my middle child, the green one. Bowsette stopped by and recruited him, I'm sure among the two of them will handle it this time. Mario was kidnapped too. Peach continued to cough into her napkin, since all the stress would just make her cold worse. Nobody ever remembered Luigi. Ouch, third time in a row was brutal. Wait, did I hear her ride on Bowsette getting Luigi to join her? Sasuke said, a bit worried about the news. Back with Naruto. Leah. Bouette opened her mouth and showed off several rows of extremely sharp teeth that surrounded the inside of her mouth. Only the strongest of erections can withstand my super blowy hehehe. Bouette laughed to herself as she looked in a mirror, having changed into her wedding dress, her real wedding dress. GHHH. The boys covered their crotches with their hands at the mere thought of the idea of such a horrid thing. No man didn't see that and then imagine one of the few things to look forward to when getting a girlfriend, and she ruined it. Her teeth turned back to their normal spiky, instead of evil spiky, as she looked at herself in the mirror some more. The boys all visibly sighed in relief for the prince not going to face off such a fate so soon into his new kidnapper's clutches. Seeing her breasts, she had to wonder if he would find any enjoyment in her nipples not being pink. Anyone else curious on what they might be? Kiba said as both girls and boys raised their hands in agreement. I wonder what would they be, blue? Maybe pale white. Tenten said, cupping her chin in thought. Nah, has to be grey, Naruto said as no one seemed to care he woke up or hasn't fainted at the sight of Queen Boo again. What? Naruto said, hey, you're alive. Sakura shouted with a smile, hugging her teammate. While she might punch him for being a dolt and often trying to get close to her, she did care for his well-being. Yeah, for some reason I don't feel as scared as I was before. He said, not noticing a golden experience being suddenly fading from behind him. Queen looks at the screen with a wink. I made some alterations, Just letting you know, I have no such plans on marrying you anyway. Any minute now something is going to happen. Naruto had his eyes closed, he had woken back up. Bouette, when you weren't staring at her, had little to no shame at all. Even Bowsette realized that being naked in front of him wasn't what she needed to do right away. She was wise enough to try and save it for private places. I guess both Narutos can bounce back as well. Kiba chuckled as he was hoping it would be more funny to see the prince lose his cool more times than the few bits he had seen him in. Any Bowsette winning ahead of best wife for Naruto. Sakura said, getting a small notebook and had a cute chibi drawing of all the girls who are close to Prince Naruto. With Bowsette and Peach winning, Queen Boo just slightly ahead of Daisy. Wait, who voted for Daisy? She said, not noticing Queen blushing at the fact she was only one who was in Team Daisy. Bouette stripped down naked then and there, no shame at all. Whoa. As most of the shinobi covered Princess Peach's eyes while also covering Hinata, Rock Lee and Naruto eyes as the sight was. Ha. I was right. That's who said that. Something, as if anything could defeat me, Bouette stated as a large hand destroyed a hole in the wall and grabbed her by the face, covered in flames. The rest of the wall shattered moments later as Bowsette herself came through the wall. Holy shit, Ino whimpered as she felt that grab on her own face. Someone's not happy with another someone stealing, said first someone's partner. Tenten said as one person lifted an eyebrow on that sentence. What? Neji could only give his most intelligent answer to that string of messed up words. Bowsette had magic. Magic could touch ghosts. Ooh, does God hate the ones I love? Ino said, hating on how Junior got a spanking that was way too harsh for a daddy's girl, and now her new favorite girl, going to get a beatdown from the Dragon Queen. Hey bitch, wanna see a magic trick? Bowsette asked as she lifted Bouette higher up into the air, keeping a firm grip on her. She slammed Bouette into the ground, though the ghost royal phased through the floor easily enough and popped back up. Dear Kami, we kinda forgot that despite her comical failings on trying to get hit, she is still a walking dragon with the power of one. Naruto said as Peach comically nodded her head fast at the power of Bowsette. Given that she hasn't shown much of Bowser's usual fighting prowess, she was beginning to wonder if she had more of a docile Naturino. She can throw that idea out the window. Naruto sighed to himself. He flexed his arms and snapped the binds holding him before he stood up and dusted himself off. No one could say anything after everyone's jaws hit the ground at the frickin' fact that just happened. Well, save for the omniscient people who brought them in. You could escape the entire time, Bouette shouted in shock when she saw how he had snapped the ropes strong enough that they could hold even Bowsette herself. She was simply stunned when she saw the magical ropes had just snapped so easily. Naruto fixed his suit. The prince, royalty must be calm, orderly, and above all else diplomatic. The ability to end conflict with words is a must. Naruto kept his eyes closed as he walked over to the two women. Naruto grabbed Bowsette by the wrist and he also grabbed Bouette by her wrist as well before he started to drag the two of them. For war. Take me big boy, everyone turns to Ino who sweat drops at the failed joke. Come on, that manga shoujo level of Prince Charming levels. I'm worried if him are going to knock them out like he did to Peach and Bowsette when entering his bath. Naruto mumbled with his eyes closed, worried for the girls who like him Prince was going to get hurt. -13 hours later. The screen now looked serious as in a large dining table. There was Naruto, Prince, in the middle as he passed and just explained to the women the papers he gave to them. Okay, so how's this going to work? Bosette was still confused after having the new situation explained to her. Buette was confused, she was just silently confused. Contract. I, Bosette Koopa, Queen of the Koopa Kingdom, hereby agree that while my attempts to kidnap and marry Naruto U Toadstool are within my political right as a proud royal Koopa. I agree that while my attempts are within my right, that I will not get into political disputes against my Boo counterpart. I will also restrict my own kidnapping attempts to only take place on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. At the same time, I will not kidnap the Prince of the Mushroom Kingdom from Buette if her own kidnapping attempts last longer than her kidnap days, provided that the initial kidnapping happened on one of her agreed-upon kidnapping days. Breaking this contract will result in a declaration of opposition to the signatures on this contract. Signature, Bosette Koopa and Naruto U Toadstool. I, Buette, Queen of the Boo Kingdom, hereby agree that while my attempts to kidnap and marry Naruto U Toadstool are within my ability as an undead creature not beholden to mortal law, that I will obey the rules set forth in the contract. I will not get into political disputes against my Koopa counterpart. I will also restrict my own kidnapping attempts to only take place on Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I also will obey the restriction to not kidnap the prince on days that Bosette has as her kidnapping days and will not kidnap when Bosette has prior claim. Breaking this contract will result in a declaration of opposition to the signatures on this contract. Signature, Buette and Naruto U Toadstool. Everything seems legit on the paper. Ino said before looking at her former best friend, "Hey Billboard Brow, you something odd about this?" Sakura shook her head, "I didn't think so, this seems very ironclad," besides Bosette little part on hers, saying what is basically the same for Queen Buon not to kidnap Naruto when it's on their days or ongoing kidnapping. She said, but asking for another tablet to see the contract while the others to continue on. Something's not right. This contract ensures that your two kingdoms will not go to war over me. Bosette, you won't kidnap me on her days. Buette, you can't kidnap me on her days, and neither of you can touch me on Sunday. At the same time, if one of you kidnaps me on Monday, if I'm still kidnapped on Tuesday then so long as I'm still technically kidnapped by one of you, the other can't do anything. Naruto explained the finer details of the contract to both of the idiots in the room. It had taken 13 hours to get the contract written up, the papers made official, and everything set down on the negotiations table. Sakura looked up from her own reading and looked impressed. Wow, he did that in that short of a time. Well, it takes a lot of months for villages to make a peaceful treaty. Well, granted she knows it's more complicated than that, but she would also admit to have two aggressively strong females, and both are queen no less, to even humor this was amazing. Although it did help their respective crushes, was there talking to them. If I don't want to follow the contract, Bosette stated with a wide smirk. Naruto's eyes turned red. The FFT. The genin all laughed lightly at the fact the normally brash woman was suddenly scared as she leaped out from her chair. Yes sir. Bosette shouted as she stood up straight, remembering what happened the last time his eyes turned red. She remembered when she had been slapped by Princess Daisy, and she would rather get 50 of those slaps than come face to face with scary eye Naruto again. Is there a bathroom in this place? Bosette asked with a twitch. That's a good question. Niji mumbled as the idea of a ghost not needing it seems likely that they will not have a facility of that nature. So if Naruto was kidnapped wouldn't that be a problem? Buette giggled. The dead don't need bathrooms. So going to regret that honey, some of the best things happen in bathrooms, Ino teasingly said winking as she also said, and how are you going to look your best correctly without the proper space for your battle gear? Buette, if you're going to kidnap me, then you'll have to install the basics needs for the living. You see, page 20 through 46 will go into deeper details on what you will need to do. Before your next kidnapping attempt, I expect all 102 rules and regulations on standards of living to be applied to your estate. Naruto explained to Buette, who grabbed the contract papers and looked at the pages with a glancing eye before her eyes began to spin around. Wup, she's broken, Tenten said with a smirk as she saw Sakura making her own notes besides her device to making sure whatever that made her felt odd was checked out. Ahahaha, idiot. Wait for it, Tenten chimed in as she lifted a finger for. Bosette, since you have a long history as my kidnapper, I've also laid out several demands on pages 47 through 59, since our kingdoms are further apart. I'll need to be able to access a working office in order to fulfill my princely duties from your castle. Of course, since this prep work will take a while, I believe that you shouldn't be kidnapping me until these steps are completed. Naruto explained her too, and her jaw dropped. Ha! The weapon mistress said, giggling at the shocked look from Bosette. Not bad, the guy got both sides of his kidnappers to build things that he needs for everything and for his work. Shikamaru said with a nod to how sneaky Naruto was. He got what he wanted from both sides, and that meant peace on both armies as well. The guy wasn't just smart, he knew how to play people so well that he didn't have to worry about each other causing problems. This caused the usually lazy boy to look at the blonde who was chuckling with the rest of the genin. It was true Prince Naruto was a version of Naruto who got a father and 4 mothers, but the fact he wasn't so desperate for attention made the teen gulp in slight fear. This Naruto could be just as smart as Prince Ish made a mental note to be careful if they were enemies when returning back to the exam. But pages 101 through 104 explain it all in detail, and while not completely needed for the contract, I do suggest both of you read pages 105 through 302. Naruto stated to them as he stood up and popped a kink in his back. Negotiations for the day were done. Time to escape Buet and Boset before they realized that the contract didn't go into effect until next week. Can we seriously hire this guy for Konoha? We might get world peace in less than a day if he did this and still came out as the winner. Ino shouted as everyone laughed heartily at her sound reasoning. Ah, I found it, it was in between page 104 and 105, literally saying it will not go into effect. Smart. Sakura mumbled before looking around to see everyone laughing. What I'd missed. As the rest laughed, Naruto moved to Peach and made his hands do a prayer gesture. Ah, Peachum, I am so sorry for hurting you, can you forgive me? He asked as the woman nodded before giving a cute smirk. Lifting her hand up and smiling at his coolest look, she felt her heart beating insanely fast as she spoke. Do you mind kissing it? It still hurts and my father used to kiss my boo-boos. She said sweetly as Naruto did and fwash. She turned red as the princess gently withdrew her hand. Thank you, and you're forgiven. Ping just smiled as he laughed. It seems some are getting interesting later on, he said, intrigued at the sight. End chapter. So this part ends here. If you want to see next part of this series, like the video now and share the story with your friends. Bye bye.